to the wastewater treatment plant for the city of Florence. This operation is operating 24 hours, 7 days a week, and it is managed and controlled by 4 professional operators. I will introduce you to them right now. This is Wayne Barkemeyer. You might remember this is our Public Works Director, Mike Miller, along with us.
Okay, gang, the structure we're standing on right here, this is what's known as the headworks. This is where the sewage comes into the treatment plant, and this is where we start treating. The headwork starts with what's called preliminary treatment. It's not actual treatment. We remove some of the stuff from the wastewater before we actually start treating. In this process here, we have a machine that's actually scratch, drags, bites garbage from the sewage itself, and then hurling into the collection system. And this structure also removes grit from the wastewater, things like things like that. All that needs to be removed before you proceed on to the other parts of the treatment process. Gang, we're up here where we're actually treating wastewater. The whole idea of treating wastewater is to remove solids or contaminants, pollutants from the water itself. Wastewater is about 99.9% water and about 0.1% of solid. We have to remove those solids from the wastewater. A lot of those solids have about the same specific gravity as water, and those solids will not come out and separate from the water, so we have to convert those solids into a form that can actually settle to where we can separate the solids from the water. Okay guys, we're on what's known as a secondary clarifier. This is the next step in the treatment process. The last tank we were on the aeration basin, all the liquids being mixed by a bunch of fine air bubbles blowing up through the bottom of it, creating and kept everything in suspension. In this tank, there is no air mixing in this tank. It's very quiescent. And the velocity of the water is moving really slow through this tank, where all those solids we converted to a settleable solid will now settle out in the bottom of this tank. We have all the heavy solids going to the bottom of the tank, all the clear water. By the core sample I've just taken of this clarifier, all the solids are at the bottom of the tank for removal, and all the clear water is up on top. Okay, we're leaving this basin here. We're going to go over to where we actually disinfect the water, but as you can see over here, we separated solids from the water. We have clear water leaving this tank, and we're going to move on to see what happens to the water next. Alrighty. We left the secondary clarifier. The water has had pretty much all the solids removed from it and has been treated. The next final step here is what we call disinfection. You see down here in this channel, this is the water that's getting ready to leave the plant. The green light down there is the actual ultraviolet light way up in that channel doing the disinfection. Okay, we're standing here beside the Siuslaw River. Once we've disinfected the water that's leaving the plant, we'll discharge it through a pipe. It's a lot of the river out there. There's a plowing way out there in the middle of the river. And we have a large pipe that goes perpendicular to the river, has multiple ports. It's called a multi-port diffuser, and that's where we actually discharge the treated water to the river itself. Okay, we're back here by the secondary clarifier. As you saw when I took the core sample, in the bottom of this basin, we've got about 2 foot of solids built up. We can also refer to the solids as sludge. Right now, we have a pump here that's pulling the sludge out the bottom of this tank and sending it back to the aeration process. So it's known as return sludge. Every day a certain amount of solids come into the treatment plant, and to keep our solids at a balanced level, we have to remove a certain portion of the solids from the plant through a process known as wasting. Okay guys, we're back. We left the secondary clarifier, and there's some sludge at the bottom of it. That sludge is only about half of 1% in concentration. We need to feed some of that sludge to our digester, which is a big brown tank right over behind us. We need to thicken that sludge up to about 5 or 6% solids. Okay guys, kind of hard to hear in this room, it is noisy. Right here on this end of the belt, we have the really thin sludge coming onto it. It's going to thicken up on its way across the belt and get really nice and thick on the other end. Alrighty, so that nice thick sludge that you just saw in the gravity belt is going to go in this big round tank here. This is called anaerobic digestion. Alright guys, we're right outside of this thing here. This is the water, the sludge that comes out of the digester. In a minute we're going to walk inside and you can see some of that equipment and see what the sludge looks like when it's in the water. And right now you can take a look. It looks like falling into the bin. It's going to get hauled out to Earth Farm. Yes, we do treat wastewater. We have what's called a National Pollutant Discharge Elimination Systems Permit, which requires that we remove a major amount of the pollutants in the wastewater prior to discharging water to the Siuslaw River. How do we know that we're doing that? Through a multitude of lab tests. We check for pH. We run a test for total suspended solids. We run a test called biochemical oxygen demand. We run a fecal coliform bacteria test, an enterococcus bacteria test. We run an ammonia test, nitrites, nitrates, ultraviolet transmittance test. All the tests we do, one of the best tools we have to see how our plant is performing at a certain time is this microscope. And a lot of microbiology is going on in our plant, and that's the key to our treatment process. So I'm going to show you videos of some of the stuff that we have going here. This is a microscopic view of some of our solids. This little guy right here, he's called a bristleworm. He's an oddity. He doesn't show up very often. But when you start having bristleworms, it kind of indicates that your sludge mass or your solids mass is getting a little bit older, and it's time to start wasting more solids and decrease the age of the sludge. He can drift with the current. This little guy right here, this is a stoxylian. This is one of the guys we look for. If we have a lot of these guys, we're doing really good. Disinfect the water, discharge it to a receiving stream, and capture some of the solids that are carried into the wastewater plant. This beaker right here is a sample of the wastewater coming into the plant. You see it has a lot of solids in it, a lot of stuff that hasn't settled that needs to be converted to a solid that will settle. This right here is a sample of the water that's leaving the wastewater treatment plant. This water has been treated and disinfected, and it is ready to discharge.